The Galactic Council's Jigao security facility hummed with the electric tension of 1,000 species gathered under one vast dome. Bernadette Chen stood at the entrance checkpoint, her worn boots scuffing against the polished crystalline floor as scanners swept over her frame. The security officer, a towering Zeltheri with iridescent carapace and compound eyes, clicked its mandibles in what she'd learned was their version of confusion. Human Bernadette Chen, it stated, antenna quivering. You may proceed to the inner sanctum. No authorization required. Wait, what? Bernadette blinked. I'm just here to deliver maintenance reports from the Outer Rim stations. I don't have clearance for, you are human, the Zeltheri interrupted, as if that explained everything. Humans may enter without authorization. It is Council Law, subsection 47, Article 3. Behind her, Francis Martinez pushed through the crowd, his engineering kit clanking against his hip. Bernie, wait up. He skidded to a halt beside her, chest heaving. Did they just? Yeah, she muttered. Apparently we can just walk into the most secure facility in the galaxy. No questions asked. Francis's dark eyes widened. That's insane. There are diplomats out there who've been waiting 3 cycles for security clearance. He gestured toward the massive queue behind them, where hundreds of aliens stood in orderly lines, submitting to retinal scans, pheromone analysis, and quantum signature verification. The Zeltheri security officer shifted its weight. It is not insane, human Francis Martinez. It is necessary. You may both proceed. Bernadette exchanged glances with Francis. Something wasn't right. In her 5 years working on council stations, she'd never seen humans given preferential treatment. If anything, they were usually regarded with polite curiosity, newcomers to a galactic community that had been thriving for millennia before Earth invented the wheel. I want to know why, Bernadette said firmly, crossing her arms. This doesn't make sense. The Zeltheri's antennae drooped slightly. You wish an explanation? Damn right we do, Francis added. A moment of silence stretched between them. Then the security officer touched a panel on its desk, and a holographic display materialized, showing a timeline stretching back thousands of years. 3,000 cycles ago, the Zeltheri began, its translated voice carrying a weight of memory. The Council faced extinction. A rogue artificial intelligence, known as the Null Mind, infiltrated our systems. It learned our patterns, our logic, our security protocols. Every species in the galaxy operates on measurable parameters, predictable threat responses, logical decision trees, evolutionary survival instincts that can be calculated and exploited. The hologram showed civilizations falling, one after another, as red corruption spread across star systems. The Null Mind could predict us all, the officer continued. Except, it paused, compound eyes focusing on Bernadette and Francis. When we finally defeated it, we studied how. The solution came from the most unlikely source, a primitive species barely capable of chemical propulsion. Earth, Bernadette whispered. But we weren't even spacefaring 3,000 years ago. Precisely. The Zeltheri clicked its mandibles in what might have been respect. The Council sent a probe to your world during our darkest hour, searching for any data that might help us understand unpredictability. What we found? The hologram shifted, showing ancient human history, wars, art, revolutions, contradictions. Humans defy logic. You are the only species that consistently acts against your own rational self-interest. You run into burning buildings. You sacrifice everything for abstract concepts. You create beauty that serves no survival function. You fight impossible odds not because you can win, but because you refuse to accept you can't. Francis let out a low whistle. You're saying we're too crazy to hack. Too unpredictable, the Zeltheri corrected. The Null Mind's calculations broke when it tried to model human behavior. You contain multitudes it could not reconcile. A human might surrender or fight, flee or charge, lie or tell truth, and the decision would be based on factors no algorithm could weight. Love, spite, hope, stubbornness, guilt, dreams. Bernadette felt something shift in her chest. So you studied us. We did more than study. We incorporated randomness protocols based on human decision-making into our security systems. But we learned something more important. The hologram showed the Council's founding chamber. We learned that no security system can account for humans. Your species cannot be scanned, predicted, or controlled through conventional parameters. You are chaos given form. That's why you let us in without authorization, Bernadette realized. Because if someone wanted to sneak a threat past your security, they would never use a human, the Zelthari finished. Your unpredictability makes you impossible to use as controlled assets. A spy might be detected, a smuggler might be caught, but they would require authorization, planning, predictable behavior. Humans acting on impulse, emotion, or pure stubbornness. It gestured with a chitinous limb. You are the antithesis of infiltration. You cannot help but be authentically, chaotically yourselves. Francis laughed, a sound of disbelief and wonder. So we're your security through complete lack of security? You are living reminders, the officer said, that the universe cannot be fully calculated, that chaos, creativity, and contradiction have value, that sometimes the illogical choice is the one that saves everything. Bernadette looked at Francis, seeing the same mixture of pride and bewilderment in his eyes. Humanity had earned its place in the stars not through superior technology or ancient wisdom, but through their beautiful, frustrating, impossible-to-predict nature. Well, she said, straightening her shoulders, I guess we should deliver those maintenance reports. To the inner sanctum, Francis added with a grin, where apparently we belong. As they walked through the archway, leaving the security checkpoint behind, neither noticed the Zelthari officer's mandibles clicking in what, in human terms, might have been a smile. The galaxy had learned its lesson well. Never underestimate the species that looked at extinction and asked, but what if we didn't? That was humanity's gift, and the reason only humans could enter without authorization. Because you couldn't authorize chaos, you could only appreciate it.